Hello everybody, welcome to Chop Brew. I am Chip Walton. Welcome to an episode completely by, for, and about the people. This is P-Berry Dove. Give it up.
Hey.
P-Berry is brewing his 1,000th batch of homebrew today. The crew of Chop Brew helped make this possible. Your contributions and donations paid directly for this trip, so we really appreciate that. What we're about to do is find out how P-Berry do things in South Austin. We're going to ride along for his 1,000th brew day. We're going to figure out what's behind the P-Berry, what's behind the curtain with these extract all bottled homebrewed beers, and you're gonna get schooled in an old school way. Ain't that right, P-Berry?
That's right.
So ride along with us. Batch 1,000. P-Berry's 1,000th batch.
Actually, guys, I've already done batch 1,000. I couldn't wait. I'm on batch 1,002. I did 1,001, 1,002. So today will be 1,002.
How you feeling, P-Berry?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Good, good.
It's another brew day in South Austin with P-Berry Dove.
P-Berry Dove. First and foremost, P-Berry Dove, I think the people that threw in on this episode really just kind of wanted to hear what it's been like homebrewing for more than 40 years. It's 40 years, right?
At least 40.
At least 40. On and off, more on than off.
Yeah.
What's it like? What was it like at first? Was it easy? Was it fun?
It was easy and fun. A lot of the ingredients back in the olden days, you couldn't find a lot of the ingredients that you can find today, like your variety of hops, grains, malt extracts, and so forth. It was actually mostly canned kits, and you could buy canned kits with their hop flavored, and brew batches up like that. Pretty much, I think we were only limited in one or two varieties of hops. There was Hallertauer and Hallertauer Hersbrucker. And I think they were both the same hop.
The whole way this whole thing came about is when I started homebrewing in 2007, I started homebrewing through Austin Homebrew Supply, where P-Berry works. John Earhart, we never introduced this guy. This is our buddy John Earhart. He used to work at Austin Homebrew Supply, is still connected to the shop, now works at Rogness Brewing Company here in Austin/Pflugerville. So I started brewing kind of under the mentorship of P-Berry for my first 5 or 6 brews before moving to the Twin Cities. John reminded me earlier this spring that P-Berry would eventually be on his 1,000th batch, so we kept up with it. We wanted to make sure we were here for this event. P-Berry, after 1,000 batches, is still an extract brewer. Isn't that amazing?
Actually, a partial mash, mini mash version.
Exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on toes. But yeah, why never upgrade? Why never go to all grain? Why never buy a wort chiller? What's up with why commit to the old school?
Never went to all grain, probably because it takes longer, and I'm already spending several hours making a batch as it is.
You start out on a brew day and you don't have a recipe, you really don't even have a blueprint until the water hits the kettle. That's wild. And then so how does the thought process go from that point?
Well, I guess it's just what I feel like at the time. I kind of reminisce on the previous 3 or 4 batches and thinking, well, I've made the pale ale, I've made the Belgian. Yeah, you asked me what we were going to brew, and I kind of paused because I don't really decide until I'm in the process, and then I think, what would be nice today? I've got some grain down here. I've got 2 sacks of grain, 2 pounds of pale, half a pound of 20L and half a pound of carapils in each one. It's great for pale ales, and anything along that line. You might want to call it maybe a light IPA. 2 pounds of pale, half a Carapils, and half a Caramunic. And the Caramunic's going to give it a lot richer flavor. I was thinking about going with this one today and probably using a White Lab 005 British Ale and make like a brown British Ale. You might call it 7 pounds of extra pale. And notice I only used the finest ingredients from Austin Homebrew Supply. You can make a 6-gallon batch. It would probably come up to about a 7%. You make a 5-gallon batch, that'll probably bring it right in about the 8. Okay, so I'm gonna use this guy. I'm torn between a medium alcohol range and a higher alcohol range. I think I'm gonna go with the 9 pounds of extra pale. And we're gonna make a strong British brown. So this is 3 pounds of grain. What I'm gonna do is drop it into the sack. I am going to put this little piece of plastic zip tie on here. Close it off. Kind of spread it out. And we'll let this steep for about 30 minutes. You can vary the flavor and the style of your beers by different types of grain you put in it. The grain starts steeping for several minutes. The Carapil is just going to, the color and the flavor is going to come out in it. This is the kind of light color right now, but it's going to start dramatically getting darker.
What kind of flavors do you get off of those specific steeping grains, since you built that bill kind of custom?
What kind of flavors? Oh, I wouldn't know how to be real specific about that.
Back in 2007, you guys met. You were over there.
Yeah.
What batch number would you have been back in those days?
You got me on that one.
Couple hundred ago.
I think actually we came across it. Yeah, I think it was in the 800s. Maybe. I think we flipped past it in one of your mini logbooks. Mm-hmm. What is homebrewing to you that you've stuck with it for 40 years, that you didn't give up on it after 10 batches and check it off your list of things you've done in life?
I really enjoyed homebrewing. I remember meeting some people when I was younger, probably 20 years old, that were brewing beer, and I was surprised. We were going to go get some beer, and they went downstairs to the cellar, and sure enough, they had 50, 60 bottles of beer down there, and I'm like, you're kidding me. Mm-hmm. So I figured, well, that's probably what I'm going to be doing is making beer like these guys. They don't have to leave the house to get beer. I used to make bread when I was younger, spending a lot of time kneading the bread and watching it rise and having it bake and having a delicious finished product. Beer kind of fell into the same category. Just continued doing it. Just didn't really have any thought of stopping, and never thought about counting my batches either. I started counting early on, but what I meant was I never visioned that I would be at 1,000 batches.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It'd be like, oh, okay, I'm brewing batch 53. That's great, you know. Tomorrow, next week I'll be brewing, 54, and pretty soon it was in the hundreds and 200s and 700s and 8, 9. This would be the first time I started logging batches in April of '93.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I have it in order or not. Went through 17, 18, so forth. Used to put them all on foam board, and we get up into the hundreds. It's not really organized, because I didn't ever think that I needed to organize anything. I was just making beer. But I did keep records of a lot of things, and then you get it up into 220s and 270s and 287s. I believe I stopped working for this company that supplied me with a foam board. So I started writing everything on the back.
Oh my gosh.
And I've got now we're rolling into batches 300s up to, here we got 400. I was kind of excited about that. It looks like I made a British almond pale ale.
For batch 400?
I used a half pound of almond extract. A few years ago, I started doing Post-it notes, because it was quicker just to jot it down. And I was thinking, well, all I have to do is just jot it down, stick it on here, and then then when I do my next batch, I'll just do that. And then I got stuck on posting those for a while. Yeah, this is a little bit of the supply here. Yeah, this is 97. We bottled that Thanksgiving, it looks like, 97. 98 was bottled right after that on the 28th. We don't know what kind of hop we want to use, so I always try to keep a few extra types on hand. I do have some Columbus and Cascade. Those two hops seem to work really well together. Now my Columbus is a 17% alpha acid. What I want to do is probably put 2 ounces in at the beginning boil for my bittering. And that'll give it a definite punch. And when you take that first sip, you go, it's going to be smooth, bubbly, and you go, boy, it's got a little bite to it. For flavoring, I'm going to add let's call it an ounce Cascade for flavoring. And then maybe the last 5 minutes of the boil, we'll put another Cascade in it. So it's going to have this, I want to call it like a smooth, but a strong alpha acid bite with a good floral overtone to it.
At this point in your brewing, do you always do some kind of steeping grain, or will you still do a just straight syrup for the fermentables?
No, I've been doing this grain, call it like a mini mash, or it's called like a partial mash. I've been doing this for quite a while. Several hundred batches. How about adding 3 pounds of extra light DME with the 9 pounds of extra pale LME, 3 pounds of grain. It's about 15 pounds of malt. I like making ales. Back in the 70s, I lived up in Virginia, late 70s, and we had a cellar in our house. The gentleman that built the house had moved on to a larger house and rented out the smaller house. And we had a cellar down there that had cabinets and shelves all built, because they did a lot of canning. So when I got down there, I went, yes! And that's right about when, in the late 70s, when Carter signed the homebrew bill, so you could start homebrewing. I went, oh, okay, because I hadn't been brewing for, I would say about 5 years. There was a span in there from moving from the West Coast back to the East Coast. I think it was probably a state thing, because you could brew beer in Seattle back in 72. I think friends of mine were brewing before that, 71, 72, 73. And when I lived there's a lot of stories. When I lived in Seattle, a friend of mine, his dad was one of the district managers for Olympia Beer. And I remember he had a 2-car garage. He had a station wagon on one side and beer on the other side. And he had cases and cases of quarts. So I was able to get free bottles. And then he kind of told me a few shops downtown that had malt extract, hops, and things like that. So I started brewing up there. 72, 73. And I brewed a little bit in 70, 71. I stopped by Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Played Frisbee for a couple of years and brewed beer with some friends that had a farm. Forgot what kind of malt extract we used. It was some like a Red Star in a can, and we'd throw brewer's yeast into it. It was like, it was horrible stuff in the world. But you get a good buzz off of it.
Yeah.
Now we're over 1,000 beers.
Do you share a lot of it, or is this P. Barry's beer?
Most of it's mine. Yeah, I share with my friends at Chop Brew and Rogness Brewing.
You got to bring a video camera apparently to get a beer from this guy.
Get in good.
Yeah, at one point I lived with 3 of my brothers, and they drink a lot of my beer. I tried teaching a couple of my older brother and one of my younger brothers, showed them how to make beer and so forth. And I think after about 4 or 5 batches, they thought it was just too much work.
40 years, 1,000 batches. What's kind of your schedule for brewing? Like how many times a month, and how do you work the workflow of brewing and bottling? Since you do bottle, it's a lot of labor. How do you kind of keep it all on track?
Well, I generally make maybe a couple of batches a year. I mean, excuse me.
Dude's 8,000 years old. It's awesome.
I pretty much do my brewing, split my brewing and bottling between weekends. One weekend I'll brew a batch, and possibly the next weekend I might bottle a previous batch. Back in '78, met an old German guy that had a wine and cheese shop in Fairfax County, Virginia. Got some added pointers from him because I wanted to start brewing again. And he said, when the hops dissolve and boil, of course they're going to turn to look like foam on top of your wort. He says, always keep it stirred into the wort. He said, keep the hops inside there, man. We're 30 minutes into the boil, and I think we'll add an ounce of Cascade 6.9% alpha acid. Put all those pellets in all at once. I enjoy it. I used to bake bread when I was younger, and I guess making the bread and putting all the effort into making the bread, and then after it was baked, it was such a lovely taste of bread that I kind of used the same idea on making beer. You know, I can change the flavor, the color, the texture, the style, into hundreds of different kinds of styles and of beers. I like the taste of it. It's cost efficient. Making home brew like this is probably running me around about 60, maybe 70 cents a pint. It saved my life in times of no beer. One more ounce of Cascade, 6.9%. Excellent smell. Smell that Cascade.
You know, Rogness has homebrew roots. So many commercial brewers out there have homebrew roots. But it's a testament that the hobby is whatever you make of it. You can do 1,000 batches of extract and never open a brewery and have a good time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Did you ever think you were gonna open a brewery? Has that never appealed to you?
Oh, yeah, I'd always thought of having like an eatery, maybe a Peaberry's Lunch and Brew, and serve lunch between 11 and 2, and then serve up a beer that I brewed.
While P. Barry Dove may have never launched a career as a restaurateur and pro brewer, he did have some success as a musician and singer-songwriter in Central Texas.
Been playing guitar 50 years.
Man. How old are you, P. Barry?
51. Used to be an open mic. Mark Luke Daniels had an open mic thing here in town, and he gave me a little button that said "Nearly Famous."
Two of his more popular songwriting credits include the holiday-themed Christmas Time in Austin and the Reindeer Song, recorded in 1986 at Lone Star Studios.
James Tuttle was the engineer. The assistant engineer who did a lot of the mixing, he was a Tim Buck Three's engineer. Did My Future's So Bright, You Gotta Wear Shades. That was my assistant engineer. Probably wrapped it up in about 3 to 4 hours. And then they ran all the sound through a stack of 5 compressors and compressed the sound down 5 times. So when you played back on the monitors in the studio, the speakers would jump out about this far, like that.
These are wonderful songs, especially going into the holiday season. P. Barry has been nice enough to share them with Chop Brew so that our fans can enjoy them and share them as well. So hear the Reindeer Song and Christmas Time in Austin at chopandbrew.com/lanyap and pass them along to a friend. Now back to that monumental brew day in South Austin. Are people shocked to hear that you brew partial mashes still 40 years in?
I've heard some comments, but why don't I keg, or why don't I do all grain?
I was about to ask, why don't you keg?
But one reason I don't keg, I've become accustomed to bottling everything, and generally I'll bottle all in 16-ounce gross flip tops. I like the natural carbonation. It gives me a sense of satisfaction to see the bottle of beer that I made, having it ferment out and age. It's a pleasant experience in my mind just to know that I can produce a product that is a very, very good product.
Do you ever, what's the longest you've aged something? Someone tells me you don't age things a whole long time, do you? Although you could, 9%ers.
There was a batch that I made last July, and I'd have to look up the records on it, and I found about 12 bottles that I'd pushed back off in the corner that didn't really carbonate out, so I tried to recarbonate them and actually forgot about them until about a month ago, and I pulled one out, and I think they were 16 months old, and it fizzed just like that. Of course, saying I only had 12 of them left, they got drank real fast.
Was it perfect carbonation or a little much?
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, one of my best home brews was an old Rasputin clone, and forgot about it in the back of the fridge. Like, what the hell is that? I don't even know what that is. Pop it open. I had drank most of them, 4 months in, and this was 12 months in. Beautiful, like the best beer, perfect. So I had to rebrew it and wait the 12 months, man.
I usually make probably half a dozen different beers off and on. I like California Pale Ales, IPAs, British Pale Ales.
Sounds like you like your hops and your malts. You definitely like your alcohol content.
Alcohol content's good. I have made barley wines before. I made a Scottish ale one time. Probably made a 4-gallon batch with 6 gallons of ingredients, and it came out to be about 18.6%.
Whoa.
And that was actually pretty good. It carbonated out very well. I was explaining earlier that there's 3 things you have to remember in a hobby like this. Yeah, you have to have your planning, consistency, and patience. Make sure you plan everything out. Always be consistent. Don't say, oh, I want to do it this way, and I want to put this over here, and you turn around and trip over something. And and patience is probably the virtue.
Let's do some math real quick. So you do mostly like gross bottles. How many bottles in a batch is that?
Usually a 5-gallon batch. You can get about 40, 42, 16 ounces.
So there you go. 40,000 bottles of beer
on a wall.
There's the wall.
There's the wall.
And
impressive.
And it's easy to make a pint of beer for under $1. I'm not sure what pints cost out on the street anymore, because.
Do you not drink commercial beer much anymore?
No, I really don't.
That's an old school homebrewing method there. I mean, yeah. This is the beer that I drink. That's why I homebrew. More and more, I think the hobby, even though you brew at home, you still go out a lot. But it can be a money saving thing. Mm-hmm. It can be.
Yeah, I remember once about maybe 10 years ago, for some reason or another, I ran out of my own homebrew and had to go to my local beer and wine shop, and ended up paying $12 for 6-pack. And I said, $12? So I could have made 20 pints instead of 6. So I tried not to run out.
After a little bit of a refill, I just have kind of one final question, possibly final. Under the current trajectory, when is batch 2000 for P-Berry?
There's a senior citizen home down the street. You might find me there. I have no idea. I never thought I'd be at 1,000, much less 2,000.
But it's a hobby for life, I think, is one of the points, right? I mean, this is not something that you quit doing when you're X amount old because one reason or another. This is like any hobby. You can do it forever.
That's correct. Yeah, I'll probably brew like once a month, something like that. Just to keep a little bit of homebrew around.
Mm-hmm. Just much respect. A guy that knows what he wants.
Yeah.
Knows what he likes, brews it, and actually even saves money.
Yeah.
Over commercial beer doing it. Have you ever put a question out to viewers? Has anybody even heard of anybody over 1,000? I haven't.
If you know anybody 1,000 plus batches deep, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. Tell us about them. Might be an excellent story.
Tell them to give us a call.
Tell them to come arm wrestle P. Berry.
But until then, we're hanging with the king.
The king. For the occasion, for this special occasion, P. Berry's Batch 1000, we got this dude a cake. Happy Brew Day to you. Happy Brew Day to you. Happy 1000th Brew Day, P. Berry. 1002. Happy Brew Day to you.
I love you, man.
Yeah. Chop and Brew, you made that cake happen.
Go Chop and Brew.
We're gonna make it disappear now. So we're here at P. Berry's, we're wrapping it up. A lot of Chop and Brew fans made this episode possible by contributing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You contributed directly to the cause through the website chopandbrew.com. Contribute. You also support by buying shirts. There's a little shop button there. As promised in the credits of this episode, and it's going to take a while to get through, we're going to roll each of the names of the people who contributed specifically for this episode. Again, we really appreciate it. It was a nice, fun day.
You made it happen.
We also want to thank Austin Homebrew Supply for letting these two dudes come represent and letting them represent them, teaching great people like me how to homebrew from day 1 to day 1,000 batches. AustinHomebrew.com.
And I'd also like to thank John Earhart for all his support.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for helping pull this all together, man.
You got
This
it.
has been a great
That was a
weekend.
story that needed to be told. So thanks to all of you, and thank you for coming out, man. Yeah.
And I am the man of 1,000 beers.
Yeah. So until 2057, when we come back to see P. Berry at the Senior Living Center brewing batch 2000, chop for chop,
Brew for brew.
you might see your name in these credits.
This was part of an old deli setup at the Randalls down on Ben White. And they were going to throw it out the back door. It's got I think it weighs about 800 pounds, and it's got wheels on it. And don't ask me how we got it over here. I remember there was a guy about this big that helped me. This is a 20-quart stainless steel. It's my mom's old chili pot. We cleaned all the chili out. I think your wife is tasting number 998 right now.
998, 9.2.
Yeah, those you want to call sipping beers. I find myself, maybe pouring a pint every once in a while, but you don't want to drink more than a pint in 2 hours unless you really want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I like sleep. I don't get enough of it. The tagline is chop for chop, brew for brew. So as I'm doing so come with us for this brew day and meet P. Barry. Here's some great stories. Chop for chop, brew for brew, clink. What's going on, everybody? This is Chip Walton. Welcome to Chop and Brew, a very special Chop and Brew episode 1, Bore Fi. Here we go, P. Barry's beer. By, for, and about the people. All right, you're gonna get schooled in an old school way, ain't that right, P. Barry?
That's right.
So ride along with us. Batch 1000, P. Barry's 1000th batch. Chop for chop.
Brew for brew.
Ah, that's fine. We'll just go to the title card on that. I'm not very picky. People aren't picky. And then this will be kind of the episode. So we'll cut back and forth from this kind of stuff to the brew day.
Yeah, I had another bucket, but my dogs ate it. They went, wow, look at this, a bucket. And then the other dog would say, what you got? I think it's a bucket. What are we going to do with it? I don't know, let's play with it. And I came home and they were just happy as can be. A couple of white lads going, hey Dad, we found a bucket. I went, that's my bucket. Actually, boys, it's not 1,000. I couldn't wait.
What?
This is going to be batch 1,002.
P. Barry, you're a beast.
I've got to keep brewing. It's the brew in me and the brew in you.
Would you stop if you were going to brew gallon 205 for a year? Would you not do it? Don't answer that, dude.
Would that be a fiscal year?
Of course, you brewed before it was legal already, in 70 something.
40 batches. That would be like one every week and a third.
Do you need to get the phone?
No, I don't answer that phone.
You're like, I don't answer that phone. It'd be funny if we cut and like everybody's moving around.
And we all beers are different, different levels.
He's wearing your hat. I'm wearing your shirt.
Even though I've brewed, over 1,000 batches, it's not like I drink it all at once.
But I mean, yeah, man. As long as you've got the willpower and the gut space,
and
keep
thirst.
brewing it.
And mind you, this is the 1,002nd time I've done this. I hope I'm doing it right, because otherwise I have to start over. I don't want to have to start over.
P. Barry, you're a beast.
I've got to keep brewing. It's the brew in me and the brew in you.